રાજકોટમાં સપ્ત સંગીત 2024નું ભવ્ય આયોજન કરવામાં આવ્યું છે, જે અંતર્ગત શાસ્ત્રીય સંગીત સાથે 40 વર્ષથી જોડાયેલ પદ્મશ્રી વિજેતા શુભા મુડગલે પ્રેસ કોન્ફરન્સ યોજી હતી, જેમાં શુભા મુડગલે આજની યુવા પેઢીમાં શાસ્ત્રીય સંગીત તરફનો જે ઝુકાવ હોવો જોઈએ તે અંગે માહિતી આપી હતી. આ ઉપરાંત સુવિખ્યાત તબલા વાદક અનીશ પ્રધાને સંગીત અંગે માહિતી આપી હતી. આ ઉપરાંત રાજકોટવાસીઓને આ કાર્યક્રમનો લાહવો લેવા આમંત્રણ પણ પાઠવવામાં આવ્યું હતું.
देखने में तो आज भी मुझे मैं बहुत शौक से देखती हूँ अलग कलाकारों को. उनके साथ काम करने का अवसर भी मुझे मिला है. कभी कभी उनके लिए जो उनका संगीत तैयार करने का या गाने का भी मुझे अवसर मिला है. तो मुझे आनंद तो बहुत आता है, लेकिन एक दर्शक के रूप में अब मेरा जीवन एक तरह से मैं पूरी तरह से समर्पित हूँ गायन, ख्याल गायन और ठुमरी गायन में. और ये ऐसी विधा है, कोई भी विधा जिसके प्रति आप समर्पित हों वो फिर आपका समय, आपका जीवन अपना ही बना देती है. तो इसलिए अब सिर्फ दर्शक के रूप में मेरा एक संबंध रहा है. Well, I think classical music, I think I would prefer to say that music in general has a relevance, all kinds of music. Since you asked specifically about Indian classical music, I feel it's a very wonderful tradition that is not representational. So it is not necessarily tied down to any one kind of situation. You can actually express yourself through Indian classical music in any possible situation. And the person who listens to you also has the freedom to interpret it in their own way. And since it is non-representational, there is no need to tie it down to any one activity that you may feel is not relevant today. So its relevance remains today. It is contemporary, even though it is a tradition with perhaps a longer, much longer history than, let's say, film music, or let's say electronic music. So it has a much longer tradition, but at the same time its relevance remains absolutely as contemporary as any other. Actually doesn't encourage them to remember. So if your guardians are going to tell you, why are you wasting your time doing music? Do you know what a rough ride it is going to be for you? You will never be able to drive the latest car. You will never be able to make a 4-story, 6-story, 8-story building with your livelihood. Or you need to have a more secure future. If that is the message that is going to young students of music, how can you expect them to then say that, okay, we will embrace classical arts? I don't know to what extent. And again, like Anish said, I have the deepest respect for every kind of music, even those that are not part of my musical preference. But when have we seen families encouraging their children and young ones not just to perform and become television stars or Instagram stars? Before that, at home, what do we learn? We learn to respect our elders. We learn to keep our environment clean. Are we taught that we must love the arts? We are never really taught to love the arts, or very few homes do that. When we go to school, very often, unless it is a school that is led by a principal or somebody amongst the proprietors who have a deep love for the arts, usually the arts are brought out only when there is a program to take place. Whether it is Republic Day or Independence Day, rest of the time allot that time for more serious subjects like math and science and other things. If this is the message that will go to our youngsters, how can we blame youngsters for moving away towards genres of music that perhaps provide them with a more secure future? It is we as a society that must decide whatever little we want to do. How many of us spend 1 rupee in a month for the arts, for the traditional arts? Whether it is to give it to somebody doing kirtan in a temple or in a shrine, how much money do we spend consciously on the arts? Will we take a subscription for 50 rupees a month to listen to a internet channel which is playing classical music? No. Many people have tried and failed. So I think unless we as a society decide that we are not going to do only lip service to our traditional arts, we cannot blame our youngsters. We must create the mahal for these youngsters to feel secure in it.
I'd just like to add that all the arts are actually relevant, not just classical music. We tend to give more importance to classical music or to the classical arts. But I think, for centuries, our country and the entire subcontinent actually has had parallel streams of music making, parallel streams of art forms running. And they have borrowed from each other, influenced each other, and have had lives of their own as well. They encapsulate the manner and the entire culture actually that we have lived in and we live in today. So I think it's a wonderful way of knowing our history, our geography, our sociology, and those things are important even today. Actually, every generation, because there's documentary proof of this, so every generation thinks like that. That, oh, the present generation or the younger generation is not doing too much and they are moving away from our roots. If you look at material that has been written in early 20th century or even in late 19th century on classical music, Hindustani music, people are talking about a time when who we think our greats had just started performing. You understand what I'm saying? So, I think every generation comes up with its own needs, requirements, and interests. And I think to have a kind of, I think it's important to have a dialogue between the older and the younger generation.